I made a video recently about how just the simple act of creating anything at all with your hands serves as a wonderful way to heal your overstimulated nervous system. And I got a lot of comments to that video. And there was one comment that stood out that I want to read to you. Essentially, I want to dedicate a whole video to this comment that was left on that video about healing your nervous system through creation and art making. Before I go into what was said in the comment and my thoughts about it, I just want to let you guys know about the materials that I'm using, because oftentimes a lot of the questions that I'm asked in the comment section have to do with the materials that I'm using. So I just want to go over that first. I am working in a handmade book, a handmade art journal that I created myself. I have been creating these books for about 4 years now. I call them Willa journals. Essentially what they are is they are a junk journal that is doctored up to be the most functional thing for me to use at any given time. So it could be filled with pages that are watercolor paper. It could be filled with drawing paper, whatever kind of paper you want to fill your journal with. That's the kind of journal that you should have. I don't like to limit myself to commercially made journals, and I'm going to make a whole video just about that. But just know that this journal is a journal I make myself. The reason I go through this is because I love the decal edge and I love just the look and feel of the whole journal, which is just an important part of my artistic process, is that I love the journals that I work in. So I'm working in my own journal. I'm not going to go into the details of what is this paper, where do I buy it, how do I make it into something useful for me. That's stuff that I go over in my course, Watercolor for Relaxation. The details about how I painted these pages, the paints that I used, all of that, you can find that all here on YouTube. At this point, I do not have an overwhelming number of videos, so you should be able to very easily find the video where I painted all of the florals in here. And also I have a lot of videos on how I mix color. It's called the Mother Method. And basically I have sort of my own version of the Mother Method that I have just developed over thousands and thousands of hours of joyful painting. So if you're looking for videos on how I mix color or how I painted these exact pages, you will find them. I will link them below, but you'll also if you look around my YouTube channel, you can find all of this. So the final piece of information before I get rolling on what this video is really about is the pen that I'm using. So I'm using a white Uniball Signo gel pen. It is the UM-153, and a lot of people dislike these gel pens, and the reason they dislike them is because they're trying to use an old one. So what I have found is that as long as I use a fresh one, meaning if I'm going to do a lot of white gel penning, meaning like a lot of mark making in white, I need to open up a fresh gel pen, because that's the way that the ink is going to flow relatively easily, and I'm going to get really, really, really good white coverage on top of anything. If the pen sits for weeks, if not months, you're just going to fight with it. So I keep kind of a large stash of these pens on hand. They are not expensive. So we're not talking about some expensive material that has a expiration point. We're talking about something you can buy in bulk. You can get them 10 at a time. I think they're under $2 per pen. And they're such a big part of my art practice that I buy them in bulk. I keep them. Oftentimes I don't use them up before they go bad, but it is what it is. I love the look of white doodling on top of colorful art journaling and colorful watercolor painting. So it is what it is. Okay, now on to the meat of the matter here. So I'm wanting to talk to you guys about this thing that a lot of people carry with them and it is guilt around time spent creating, maybe even extending to guilt around even purchasing art supplies. Just this general feeling that people have that they should not be spending their time making art. And since I recently made a video about the health benefits of making art, now I'm here to say, or talk about, now I'm here to talk about, if you know that there are these health benefits of making art and you're still finding yourself really, really resistant to the idea of carving out time in your life to do just anything. It could be knitting, crochet, Zentangling, doodling, drawing, painting, junk journaling, collaging, making collage fodder, watercolor painting, anything. There is nothing about any particular form of creation. You might like to throw pots on a wheel, but I'm just talking about people who aren't even doing the most basic things that they could be doing, which in my opinion is probably one of the reasons why I'm so drawn to art journaling as a medium for healing, because it does not take, some highly specialized equipment. It doesn't take, you can do it anywhere at any time. You can do it early in the morning, late at night, on the weekend. You don't have to go to a studio to do it. You can do it in your own home. But the thing that people resist is even the idea, and I'm not talking about all people, probably most people who are watching this video are people who already have a regular art practice and you already know what the benefits in your life are. So I'm really talking to people who watch videos on YouTube but don't take the time to actually touch the materials themselves and go into flow state with their art materials. I'm talking to you. So I'm going to read this. This is what I'm going to do. Okay. I'm going to read the comment and then I'm going to go into all my thoughts about it. So here is what the commenter said. They said, and this was a response to, again, the video that I posted last week about how creation heals your nervous system. So it says, this video was extremely well timed for me and I appreciate your candor immensely. I am dealing with constant anxiety, which is partially fueled by the guilt I feel while using art as therapy and relaxation. Having grown up with parents who could never see the value in creative pursuits unless they were going to involve monetary recompense, I continue to struggle with allowing myself to paint or do other types of art, even though it's the only thing I still enjoy doing. Coincidentally, I'm convinced that trying to be something I never could be was a contributing factor in developing Crohn's disease, which started out as IBS in my youth. Perhaps you could follow this up with your thoughts about finding a personal philosophy to counter the negative connotations that linger from childhood and beyond due to societal and or family pressure to follow a more practical route in life. Thank you for helping us to give ourselves permission to be what we are. Sounds like your online courses might be just the thing. So I just want to thank the person who left this comment, because it takes time to leave a comment. It takes time to share. And I thank you so much for leaving it. And I want to just talk about my own personal life experiences with this and also sort of what I have learned along the way. So I think this person has hit on exactly what prevents a lot of people from making art. There is this pervasive idea in our society that you're wasting your time if you're not doing something that is of commercial value. And I completely and totally understand why we feel this way. It's just, this is something that most people know. When you say it out loud, it's like, oh yeah, I totally get that thing. So that's very, very real. Your parents did not create it. You didn't create it. That's a real thing. And I would say my initial response to that is now that we know the science behind healing the nervous system and going into flow state and what it does for the human body, it's just very, very different than it was even 10 or 20 years ago. So I imagine that the person who left this comment, they probably are about my age, if not a little bit older. And there was none of this science to let you know how healthy this was. So if you think about how much, just again, science has developed in all of these areas of human experience and what's healthy for humans, our parents and society as a whole did not have an understanding of how healthy this is. So now that we have an understanding of how healthy it is, we can reassess what we thought before. We can decide, oh, we didn't know there was a value in this. Now that we know there's a value in this, yes, it might not be a commercial value, but there's a huge value in it. So I want to give you analogies and examples of other things that are just like this. Things that maybe turned out to be truly helpful or things that were fake helpful. So would you guilt trip yourself if you were going to the gym? You go to the gym, it takes at least 2 hours. You got to drive there, you have to work out, you have to come home, you have to shower. I mean, honestly, it's now you're into 3 hours by the time you've showered. And how many times a week do people go to the gym? It's like, this is a very big part of a lot of people's lives. They don't feel guilty at all for going to the gym because they know that this is a healthy thing for them. Not only is it healthy for their body to move their body, develop strength and balance and all these things, but they also know that it's healthy for their mind because they feel better when they do this. But not only does it not make them money to spend time at the gym unless they like teach, but they are spending money to be at the gym, usually thousands of dollars a year. They are spending to go to a gym. They're also losing whatever time that they are using at the gym and with all these extra showers that they have to take. They are losing that opportunity to make money during those hours. But no one questions anyone going to a gym. It's like, it's common knowledge that that is healthy. And if that floats your boat and you want to do that, there's no one who's feeling guilty for spending time at a gym. So the same thing really applies to making art. Now that we know that creativity calms your nervous system and heals your nervous system over time, why would we feel guilty about it? Here's another thing that I thought of. Red wine. Now, it turns out that this is highly controversial, and there's a lot of people who think that the science on this is BS. But for about a decade, maybe more, people thought that red wine had some kind of magical thing that helped you live longer. And while this science was being spread around about how healthy it was, people were very gladly consuming red wine, thinking that they were doing something for themselves. This was not something anybody was feeling guilty of. They were like, this is going to help. I forget what people said about red wine. It was going to help prevent heart attacks or whatever it was going to do. Now it turns out it's a lot more controversial than that. Who knows, maybe it's not good, but whatever. My point is, people were not feeling guilty about drinking red wine as long as doctors and scientists were telling them that this was good for them. So the way that art making and creativity is different is you actually feel the effects on your nervous system. This is not some kind of pie in the sky, maybe this is going to be better for me. It literally is something you feel in your body as a result of spending time in flow state. All right, now we're going to move on to the second thing that I think is preventing a lot of people from just making art as a form of healing. So that is that they have a lot of self-doubt. And I think this is very common and it's not unusual. And if you have an immense amount of self-doubt that you're even capable of creating what you want to create, then I'd like to talk to you about something that might unlock something for you. So I'm going to just tell a little story about what I used to be like, because I used to be someone who was very, very afraid of doing anything that I didn't already know how to do. So I was very much like that as a child. My mother used to actually encourage me to do things that she thought that I might show a little bit of talent in, whether it was art or singing or acting or different things. And I was petrified because I just did not have any training in these things. And so doing them brought a ton of fear out in me. And it's only as an adult and having worked through these issues in a really unique way that it wasn't even intentional, it just kind of happened. I worked through all of that resistance to trying new things. So what happened was I ended up being a co-owner of a printing company. And the woman that I co-owned it with, she was kind of fearless. And she didn't care if we didn't know how to do something. She was like, Wendy, we'll figure it out along the way. And at first I was like, this sounds crazy. So it would apply in things like, we're going to buy this big new piece of equipment that neither one of us know how to operate, but we need it for the printing company, something like a laser cutter. So like a laser cut, an industrial laser cutter could be like $15,000, $20,000. And, she's like, we should buy a laser cutter and we should cut paper. And I was like, but we don't know how to do this. And neither one of us is an engineer and blah, 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 blah. And she's like, Wendy, we'll figure it out along the way. Or we'll hire somebody who knows how to do it or whatever it was. And she was very persistent in a really good way. And so we would figure these things out along the way. And that really taught me, like over years of being pushed to do things that were out of my comfort zone, I developed a tolerance for doing things out of my comfort zone. And I guess where it really came to a huge sort of benefit in my life is when I retired out of that company. And then I was like, I really want to go back to my own art practice. The world has opened up in ways that were just unavailable to me 15 years prior. I can take classes in anything that I could ever desire. And I had no resistance to doing that because I was like, even though I don't already know how to make mixed media art or all of these other things that I want to do, I'm going to just take classes and I'm going to learn and it's going to all work out. And first of all, I never thought I had to be perfect at any of these things. That's a whole other thing we could talk about, is just perfectionism and how that gets in people's way. But I'm just talking about the general resistance of self-doubt of, I don't know how to do that thing and therefore I can't do that thing. So I'm here to just bring attention to the fact that that's just conditioning that developed inside of you that tells you that you shouldn't do things that you're not already good at. And that conditioning is just a liar. It's just not true. So question those thoughts that you have that you shouldn't be doing something, because you can do whatever looks delicious to you, whatever looks interesting to you. The world is your oyster now. You can take online classes in anything. You don't have to go it alone. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can figure it out with someone else holding your hand. It's like a miracle for artists at this point and people who want to be creative. It truly is. I had a friend come over today. She's someone who oftentimes reaches out to me when she needs to give a gift. And she said, Wendy, I gotta get a gift for my mother-in-law for her 80th birthday. Do you have anything? I said, come on over. I was showing her when she was at my house all the stuff we've been making in fodder school. And she was like, oh my gosh, I would love, I'm thinking about retiring from work soon. I would love to do fodder school. Like maybe that's the right step for me, but oh my gosh, I don't even know. She said, I don't know how to do any of this. And I was like, I didn't either. You just start and you start following the lessons and developing skill after skill after skill and little piece of knowledge after little piece of knowledge. And suddenly you're like, wow, I'm really doing this thing. I'm capable of this. So I would say if you do have self-doubt, there's never been a better time in history to make art than there is now, because there are so many people out there who are happy to hold your hand, happy to share their knowledge, happy to have you in their community. It's incredible what's going on with art right now. So that that is the self-doubt piece of it. The last piece of this puzzle of I have all this resistance of making art for myself is the time constraint thing. So people have a lot of responsibilities, myself included. And at the end of the day, you have to decide what you're going to prioritize. We all have things we could be doing. And if you let all of the shoulds, the things that you should be doing, control your life, and you never make room for the things that you could be doing, then you're probably not going to have the happiest life. And let's face it, as much as lots of people believe there's an afterlife, and believe me, I would love to believe there is an afterlife. I really hope there is an afterlife. The only thing that we are guaranteed at this point is that we're here right now and that this is the life that we have. And I know that I don't want to look back on my life from my deathbed and think about all the things that I wished I had done while I was able to do them. I want to look back and go, I did what made my heart sing. And what makes my heart sing is making art. I mean, it's so clear that this is my absolute favorite thing to do in the world. And I just want to do that thing. And that kind of brings me back around to the whole resistance of, there's no commercial value in making art for yourself. I really should be doing something that either has commercial value with my time, or I should be doing something that I quote unquote should be doing. Maybe it's cleaning, cooking, folding laundry, whatever those things are. I think that it just really comes down to, what do you value? And if you value relaxing your nervous system because you can tell that by relaxing your nervous system, you just have a better experience of living on earth and your relationships with other people are better and calmer, then you might prioritize it. And you might say, this is not a could do, but a should do, because I need to have a relaxed nervous system, or my nervous system is shot because I've undergone some trauma, or my life has been kind of rough and it's a priority for me to have a relaxed nervous system. This is just one of many ways that you can help yourself heal. And there's no guilt in it. I mean, why would there be guilt in healing? Why would you ever carry that kind of guilt with you? Everybody deserves to heal. You deserve to heal. And if you like making art and that's going to help you heal, there's no guilt in that. There's no shame in that. Do it as much as you can. Make time for it in your life. I think you'll be a happier person, a more well-adjusted person, a calmer person. It's truly kind of a miracle. So throw the guilt out the window and hold on to the healing. If you feel ready to start something new, I've got a lot of amazing courses that are available for you right now on my website at willawanders.com. So I run an online art school called Willa Workshops, and all of the courses are there for you right at willawanders.com. I'm basically working here in this journal using the techniques that I taught in my course Watercolor for Relaxation and Willa's Leaves and Florals. This is not a lesson that you're going to find in any class. This is just, what you're seeing me do right here on these pages is just something that I put together for YouTube so that I could just paint and doodle and talk about the things that are really important to me. But if you're looking to expand your bank of knowledge and skills, then I highly recommend going to willawanders.com, checking out my courses. I've got some YouTube videos, but for the most part, a lot of the learning goes on at Willa Workshops. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope that it's helping you to let go of any guilt you have about making art, because there truly is almost nothing that you could do that would be healthier for you and better for you. So have a wonderful day and go make art.